I was talking with a restaurant owner recently who had a number of restaurants, a couple bigger ones, kind of smaller one, maybe 40, 50 seats, and then he was about to open up a really big one. And he knew that he was not going to be able to pay enough attention to the small one. And it had gone through a couple of different iterations, a couple of different concepts, and he decided on this one. And he got the staff together and said, "All right, guys, here's the deal. I have this new place we're opening up that is going to take almost all my time. I'm not going to be around to police you guys. So I hope that you guys will do that yourselves. And as an incentive, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to profit share. I'll give you guys as a staff 50% of the profits if we hit a certain threshold. So I'll take 50% and then divvy up the rest of the 50% amongst you guys as long as we hit certain food cost goals, labor goals, I think beer and alcohol sales goals, percentage-wise. And if you do, then that's a couple extra $1,000, every quarter, which ends up being $3, $4, $5 of a raise maybe for certain people. So they're on board. All right, let's do it. Well, he opens up this other restaurant. He's gone. He comes back and he looks at numbers a couple weeks later, and they're not getting any better than they were before. And then he sees they're getting worse and worse. And then after 60 days, he goes in the middle of the night, clears the whole place out. They all show up the next morning thinking they have a job, and it was gone. And talking with him, he was so disappointed more than anything. Like, I gave these guys an opportunity to, take care of this place, basically do their job, and get paid more for it and have some ownership of sorts. But instead of doing that, one person was apparently selling drugs out the back door for meats, I think. Someone else, I'm sure, bartender was probably giving away drinks at the bar, all sorts of things. He was hoping that with these parameters in place, the bartender might be pouring a drink for their friend and not charge them, and someone else might say, "Hey, wait a second, like, you're giving away my money, right? Because if we don't hit these goals, then I don't get it either." But it didn't work. And I was asking him, I said, "Well, what would you do differently if you, like, looking back, Monday morning quarterback, what would you do differently if you could?" And he said, kind of jokingly, "Well, I would have hired the right staff," which I'm sure is partially true. But then also he said, "Yeah, I think in the early days I probably could have been there more," which he was he had this opportunity cost of this other restaurant and this place, and where do you spend your time? And so that's a huge lesson, I think. There's a couple lessons there. One is, there's this quote from Zig Ziglar that I love. He says, the only thing worse than training staff that leaves is not training staff and having them stay. And I think that's kind of like the situation he ran into. It was kind of like the too many people not properly trained, kind of just nobody really in charge. Nobody putting systems in place to make sure that things were done the way they were supposed to. So that's the first lesson. I think the second lesson is the importance of getting the right people in the building. All it takes is one person to be a cancer for the whole organization. And this is a small place, right? I think they had he said they had 14 employees. So, one or two people that are doing the wrong thing are going to compromise the culture for everybody else. And it's obviously easier to start with a good culture versus try to retrofit it. Have a bad culture and then make all these changes and make something new. But it starts really with the values you have as a company, and then finding people to work with you that are in sync and aligned with those values. And then the third thing I think that's really important, just in business in general, is here he is like trying to do a really generous thing, like about the most generous thing an owner can do for his staff. Like, hey, we're all in this together, right? If I make money, then you guys make money. And all he's really asking for them is to do their job the way they're supposed to, right? To have these certain goals and expectations that you would have anywhere. but they let him down. And in business, in restaurants and hospitality, everywhere, we're going to be let down. And I think it's easy to get kind of callous and frustrated and cold. But I think, and he's still very generous. And I think having that mindset of generosity to your staff and to your community and all those things are super, super important. So getting the right people in the building, train them properly, and then being generous with who you are and the opportunities you want to give the people around you. So hope this helps you guys. I'd love for you to share it with people maybe you work with or maybe your boss that might need a few little pointers. But I thought it was really powerful. So cheers.